Start the recording. If I could ask you to move to audio mute so we can just get started here. All right. Welcome everybody to this session. It's called Strengthening Our People, and I'm absolutely thrilled to meet all of you in this IIoT World Days. So this represents the whole start of the conference, and we have this very select group who've come together to talk about an important topic. So let me just start by saying that we absolutely believe that in the three pillars of people, process, technology, that in some places people can be too much a skinny pillar, and that we think that this is now more important in light of COVID-19 and also all that's been happening around the world around social justice, etc. So the question is, what are the reasons why we all believe this people pillar needs strengthening? We're going to start our conversation with that. Then we're going to go into a framework for understanding and supporting people who are critical to our technology roadmaps. And then we're going to think about how we can set people up for success based on our discussion. So this is very much intended to be all of you contributing. And what we'll be doing is we'll be summarizing back into the conference the specific ideas and insights that came from this session. So we have a very, amazing, awesome group that's come together today. And I had, requests to join the session. And basically, what I was keen to do was to bring multiple voices into this discussion. We've got significant subject matter experts in this group. We've got significant leaders, significant companies represented. So it's really important that, we all bring voices to this. And my role here is to be the host. I'm the founder and managing director of EI World. Some of you may have listened to my keynote. We focus on people performance in industrial companies and technical companies. And I've recently created an app to help scale people development called STARS. So this is the agenda, 3 parts. These are our ground rules. So we do want to encourage you to be fully present in this meeting. The KISS principle, keep it short and simple. There's a lot of voices we want to hear. When it's time to move on, I'll move us on, but it's not personal. And we really want to invite you to fully listen to each other's perspective, because actually I've learned over the last 31 years that when we actually integrate what we're each thinking, that's where we get the breakthroughs. So that's an important piece. And then I'm going to open up the chat. The chat, everyone, I want to invite you, as things occur to you as we go past, please write things into chat as well. And just make sure you're muted when you're typing, but we'll be using that. So the first thing I'd like to do is all of you represent, different perspectives, but I'd like your one sentence in your own words why you think we need to strengthen the people pillar within our technology roadmap. So if you could use the chat and write a statement and then send it into the chat so that we hear everybody's powerful thought on why this is important. So just one sentence. We're not writing the book, just one sentence. Fabulous. So Umut from BA Technology, Business Improve with Consulting, which is made of people, very well said. Lalit, it's a challenging time for people in every organization and an inflection point. We need to keep people motivated and collaborating effectively. Jaydip Chakrabarti from DXC, The team equals to achieve everyday motivation is a must for today, given our digital world. Absolutely. Sujata Tilak from Ascent Intellimation. Unless people participate and become owners of any system, it cannot succeed. And Laurent Alterac from Schlumberger, our customers are people and our teams are people. The technology is the link. Any other thoughts on that? Make sure that you've sent your comment on that. So let me just pause there and just, just give a very quick moment. So Lalit, could you just say a bit more about your point there that you made?
Well, I was mentioning earlier that I think this is a very unusual time for people in every organization being forced to work remotely. Work from home has been extended here in the US until the end of the year. And so getting everybody aligned, dealing with their concerns, their emotional situation, etc., and motivating them, I think is a very critical element of success in the near future.
So can I just, as a final one, could I just ask Alon, you might have missed what I said at the start about we really want your full presence in the meeting. So we want to encourage you. Is there anything you want to add to what's already been said so that we can hear your voice? Welcome.
Hi, hello everybody. Thank you for the session. What I would like to add is, in the end of the day, the link between people and technology should bring, innovation and disruptions. I think that it's very essential that people will lead technology, and technology will make the life more easy, more innovative. So this is the small 2 cents that I have to say about that.
Okay, that's great. Alon, just be in the middle of your screen so that we just get your powerful presence. That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, so I think we are, and Shadan, you mentioned technology plays a vital role, but it's the people and the workforce, which is the core for the digital transformation. Teams need to be engaged. Right, I think we're in really good shape to dive in. So here is the full list of everybody who has assembled together. Hopefully our final panelists will join us very shortly into the dialogue. So what we're going to do in this next part is we're going to move into smaller conversations on specific topics. So if you had a chance to listen to my keynote on digital transformation requires human transformation, I talked about 3 topics: awareness, resilience, and team effectiveness as a combination of topics that are important. So I've got 2 questions for you that we'll be asking you to focus on in the breakout teams. And you have this, I sent you 2 PowerPoint slides, so you have this in your email as well. I'm going to ask in each group one person to pull that up and actually capture some notes as you discuss. So you'll be allocated one of these topics, and what we want to ask you is 2 questions. What are the typical pain points in this topic? For example, if you're allocated awareness, what are some of the pains when people are not self-aware, when they're not aware of what's really going on? What is the pain points that occur in your projects, in your companies? And the second thing is, what are the good practices that you can share in how you address those pain points in your technology projects, in your companies? And when you return, we're going to ask one person from each team to share the screen of what you discuss. So this is going to be the slide that you'll be using to capture your points. And then on the right hand side of your slide, if you could just keep the members that end up in your breakout team, and we'll shortly do a switch. So let me just start by asking you, if you understand the instructions, could you just give me a thumbs up? Or if you've got a question, just unmute. Sujata's good. Lalit, you're good. Jadip? Alon Shadan. Is it Shad? How do I say your name? I didn't test it at the beginning.
Shadan.
Shadan. Okay, thank you. Jada Umut. Am I saying your name all right? Umut.
That's quite right. Thank you.
Umut. Are you sure? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay. All right. So, with the help of my colleague in tech support, let's go into breakout teams 10 minutes and then we'll bring you back. And I will join you in your breakout teams for a few minutes each. See you shortly. Who has the who are the people that have the screen to share? I know Sujatha in one group, Jadip in your group, who's got
It's
the
Laurent.
Laurent, and in the other group, Lalit or
Yeah, I have some to
you
share.
have it? Yep. Okay. So could we welcome back? We have we're dying to know like your key points from that. So I'm gonna just ask each group to take about 3 minutes. So Sujatha, could I turn it to you to share screen on the
Sure.
bottom of the Zoom and
Yeah.
select the active screen?
Yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, so actually our topic was team effectiveness, and I'm sorry I did not write it
Don't worry.
here when so it is actually T for us, team effectiveness, right? So we discussed like a pain point and what could be the good practice. So we went like side by side on the pain points and the good practices. So first one which came up is unclear expectations from the team. So what is the team supposed to deliver? And it is very essential that clear expectations are set and the team is aware as to what are they supposed to deliver. And also while choosing the team, match the expectations with the capabilities. Mm, Then the next point was absence of open communication, and I would think that this is a very big hurdle in having an effective team. So the open communication channels and the atmosphere has to be conducive. There should not be any fear in the team minds of team members to openly give their suggestions, provide ideas, and so on. And I think the team leader plays a really important role in achieving this. And the next point is also related to that, lack of freedom, oblique micromanagement by the team lead. So the team leader has to be a coach or a facilitator and not really a dictator sort of, who is demanding or telling each person what to do and not letting them take their own decisions or innovate and so on. Fear of failure is another point which reduces the effectiveness. So people should be, I mean, I'm not saying that everybody should aim to fail, but people should not be afraid of failure. So when they are doing something, especially if it is a cutting edge technology or some new concept is being tried, uh, they should feel confident that even if there is a failure, they will learn from it and they will improve, and the team will, the company or whoever is the organization management will take it positively. uh, then lack of engagement again came as one of the pain points. Lack of professional development. If people can't see a clear path for learning and career advancement, then they may not be as engaged, and hence the effectiveness of the overall team will go down. So there should be opportunities to learn and apply new things, opportunities to realize individuals' full potential. And this is kind of a double-edged sword, in the sense that on one hand, team members may feel that their true potential is not being used, but on the other hand, there might be an imbalance in the team, in the sense that there might be one or two part members of the team who are overpowering others, so who are all the time hogging the limelight, so to say. and then the other people become demotivated. So it's very essential that everybody realizes their potential and gets a chance, but at the same time, not one person overshadows everybody else.
Okay, Sujatha, thank you so much. So on the good practices, could I ask the others in your group to share a specific good practice from each of your, you know, so who have we got? Shadan and Umut. Could we ask you to share, one good practice each that came up for you in your discussion?
Sure. Uh, the employees needs to have a clear understanding of what is expected of them, and then they'll be allowed to and they have the freedom and the flexibility in how they deliver the results. Definitely, the leaders or the higher management, they could train or coach their employees on how to make these better decisions. And I believe once they are well prepared, they can take the responsibility for their own decisions. And since like the technology advances have been huge, and it has made it possible for us to have multiple channels to communicate with the team members. So effective communication plays a very vital role.
Okay, thank you very much. And then Umut, anything you'd like to add on good practices from your side?
Sure. I just want to extend this practice between better match between expectations and capabilities. I believe the people are capable of learning new things. So skills in terms of capabilities is not a big constraint. It's not supposed to be, but the expectations are more important. As soon as the people are motivated and meeting the expectations, they will be definitely willing to learn and willing to be more effective. Unless people are motivated, there is no way indeed to just kind of remedy it, and it will impact the entire team. So it's going to be the entire efficiency. That's the best practice I have ever experienced, and I usually first check this and then follow up with other other practices.
Okay, fabulous. Sujatha, thank you so much for
Yes.
both capturing all of that. That sounds like a really productive discussion.
Yes.
If I could ask you to just
thanks Shadan and Umut for their inputs.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, really, really great job. A couple of things I want to say about the team effectiveness component. What the research shows is that psychological safety in a team is an output, it's an emergent property when the team has the right everyday norms and behaviors. So, what I heard loud and clear in what you just shared is that it's all about creating the conditions for each person to bring their best information, best effort, best listening, best contribution that's added to everybody else's, and it's sustained. It's not like once and done, it's sustained so that everybody has a really powerful opportunity to bring their best. And that is a tall order in teams where we're trying to disrupt, we're bringing disruptive technologies, we're doing things at speed, we're trying, we're in the race to bring kind of new products to market. So I think you've touched on some really, really important areas there. So thank you very much, that group. Let's move on to the resilience group. So if I could ask Laurent, if you have the screen share, to just share with us. Yours
I
is
will.
a smaller group, so I'm going to time a little bit shorter on yours.
Okay. Share. Yeah, you should be able to see.
Just coming through. So you were looking at resilience. There we go. Judith and Laurent.
Yeah. You can see on screen?
Yeah. Laura, I'm hearing you a little bit choppy.
Oh,
I wonder, maybe J-Dip, can I just check your sound? Are we
Yeah,
hearing?
I'm good.
Okay,
Can you
maybe
hear me loud
J-Dip,
and clear?
if I could ask you to talk it through.
Sure,
Sorry about that, Laurent.
sure.
that's fine.
So the typical pain points we discussed were obviously, first of all, we defined resilience and we defined it to be, I mean, the ability to bounce back. And both of us are in the oil and gas world, so we understand that over the last 10 years, we have bounced back 3 times, and the fourth time is probably coming up, right? So the typical pain points were that, if you don't bounce back, what happens? A, you lose time. You lose time because time is of essence to the market. For example, in oil and gas today, you got to bounce back as soon as possible to get back the lost revenue across the value chain. So that is a lose time. Stay in the past. I mean, basically, you kind of stay in the past to stay on the old laurels. What happens, and that gives you a big ego, and egos matter. So basically, you learn to live in the past, and you cannot come out, and the team suffers. Unclear common goal is something that happens because as you progress through the time horizon, the goals become unclear. And in the first place, if it was unclear, then that's a pain point, typical pain point which the team faces. And obviously, the sinusoidal boom and bust cycle is something which is a typical pain point that gets impacted if you cannot bounce back. So those were the five areas that we thought about in terms of the typical pain points. In terms of the good practices, we kind of agree with the previous group saying that clear visibility of a common goal and well documented goal is something that can take care of the what they're trying to achieve. So I mean, and if they know what they're trying to achieve, they can bounce back in the right shape, in the right form. Trust is something that's very important. I mean, each team member should trust in the other one, and that's where they can bounce back well, because if somebody has my back, I can probably I'm not afraid of making the mistakes like the previous group said. So that bounce back happens. Um, every team has individuals who bring individual values, but the group value should be a good weighted average of the individual values. And establishing that group value to attain that particular common goal is something which helps the team to bounce back, because then they know where exactly to do that, along with the trust that they have already built up. Um, as an individual, proactively train one's own resilience. It's like a muscle, like you train every day in terms of any exercise. If you're not trained and toned, you basically do not bounce back, after a small disease or etc. So basically, that as an individual, every day you train yourself in the mind, in the body, and in the intellect, so that you can come back. And life journeys build character. So basically, by that you build the character. So in the bad times, that's what comes out, so that your basic value, your basic character comes out. So I think those were the five things we came up with as a good practice to share, and the digital framework we felt can enable these five best practices. So
Okay, fabulous. Thank you, J-Dip and Laurent. That's again really, really great input. A couple of things I want to say here. Laurent, if I could ask you to just stop sharing on the screen. One of the things about resilience, that we found, and emotional resilience is the title of a book that I wrote, is that because there's so much going on, we can't always think about resilience as bouncing back, because actually the bounce is no longer what's needed. It's actually the sustaining of resilience. So we think about resilience as choosing the thoughts, feelings, and actions that enable you to be, effective and that's a continuous, like you said, you know, life is a continuous journey, but resilience is a continuous. It's not like you learn it and then you've got it. You've got to continually apply it every day. So let me, on that note, move to the third group, who actually had, you know, in many ways, the most, you know, complex topic, which is about awareness. So if I could turn it to Lalit and Alon to share with us your thoughts. So Lalit, I think you said you've got the screen to share, and we'd love to hear your views on awareness.
Okay, so I can go first, and Alon, you can add on whatever I missed out. So we looked at awareness from two angles. One is the awareness of people about what's happening around them, the employees, and also the awareness of the management team about what the employees are dealing with. And so we look at things that are happening to people, you know, the fact that work from home is now pretty much through the end of the year, probably longer until a vaccine or a treatment is found for this COVID. So there's a loss of social connections that are, you know, the usual work-life experience that everybody has. There's a lot of anxiety, you know, worry about job loss because automation is becoming increasingly on the agenda of a lot of companies, given the situation that we are facing. And the inability to see the big picture. So the awareness of what's going to happen, you know, how this thing is going to play out over the longer term is one of the concerns that employees have. And on top of that, to add fuel to the fire, it's a very complex situation because of the social and political tensions in the environment that people have to deal with as well. So in terms of the management team, it's important to be aware of the situation that employees are facing while working from home. It's the inability to concentrate because of the environment at home. Access to office resources like labs and stuff is a problem. And there's the impact of the unstable emotional state that we talked about earlier. In terms of their practices to share, these were some of the thoughts that we had in terms of what we would say and what we see as things that need to be emulated and strengthened. I think it's important to reassure people through these transitional times, and that's very effectively done with structured communication in town halls. The number of times we used to check in with our employees when we were working together was somewhat less important, but now given that they are remote, this feeling and sense of belonging that's essential for their tie to the organization is important. So increased frequency of check-ins is important. Resources, I think the health and wellness resources, most companies are now, what I see are providing, you know, meditation sessions online, things like that to improve the emotional balance of people and make sure that their home office is at least somewhat representative of the work facilities that they were used to. There is a concept of rewards, you know, not necessarily material, but, you know, recognizing team leads for the amount of additional work they have to do in keeping people together, and giving flexibility to people to deal with special circumstances that they are undergoing. And overall, I think it is important for management to acknowledge the challenges that employees are going through and model the right behaviors. You know, you mentioned something about, you know, inclusiveness earlier, and we think the awareness of making sure that inclusiveness, not just in terms of the dynamics in a discussion, but also in terms of getting the minorities feel engaged in a time when they feel sort of threatened and challenged with the environment outside. So those are some of the things that we came up with. Alon?
Fabulous. Alon, anything you want to quickly add to that? It's very thorough.
No, I don't have anything to add on top of that.
Okay.
What Lalit answer is covering and addressing everything.
Okay, so Lalit, thank you very much for capturing the notes. I love those like 5 R's. If I could ask you to just stop sharing on the screen.
Yes.
I want to add one more R, if I may. The R of reflection. Because one of the things about that awareness topic is that we need to find ways to actually hold up the mirror. And, I think in this Zoom, virtual environment, it's even more important because, when we're leading teams virtually and we're connecting with strategic partners, virtually, you actually need to make your impact much stronger. So I know those of you who joined a bit earlier, I was saying about, even in the physical, just like looking at what you see in your, peers around the room and just actually noticing, having that noticing behavior can be really useful for awareness. So I want to start to, wow, this time together has gone so fast. I wanted to share with you. Did anybody get a chance? I know Lalit and Jaydeep, you mentioned at the start. Did anyone else watch the keynote that I recorded? Anybody have a chance to look at that yet? There was like a 22-minute keynote.
Yeah, I did look at it.
Did. Okay, so couple of people. Now the key thing about this is that in that keynote, I basically shared that I believe that we need a human upgrade. We haven't had an upgrade. We've been upgrading all the technologies around us. And I think the bottom line is that from what you've said in the left-hand side of all of those charts that you just showed, many people are living below their true potential. So when things don't work well, we actually don't get the full, human impact of what we could have. And it takes, you've touched on this important point that there's this kind of shared responsibility. It's the leaders, it's the team members. So if you're a team member, then it's also your job to say, actually, this isn't quite working. And, we think about it as the art of behavior change, that you need to pay attention to all three elements. How do we build awareness? How do we grow that resilience, that choosing resilience, choosing the thoughts, feelings, and actions that help us? And also teamwork. How do we make the team effective? Because there's now deep research that can support us to know what to do differently in these areas. And that comes from psychology, from neuroscience, from the study of organizational psychology. So, as a final couple of things, so I want to encourage you to think about what could we do differently. So, if we are like a group of peers that really are, the enlightened, beacons of hope in the IIoT context, in our different organizations, different topics. What do you think that collectively we can do differently given what we've discussed? And again, I want to invite you to use the chat so that we can share this back into the conference. If there was one specific thing that we could collectively do differently, given the way things are heading, what do you think that we can do, collectively as a group of peers, as a group of senior leaders, technology leaders driving the people agenda forwards? And again, if you mute yourself so that you can type at speed and send that in the chat.
I think it's the time to share, right?
Yeah, Umut, could you put it in chat as well? Because we're going to use sound bites attributed to you as part of our feedback, and then we'll hear from a couple of people.
Sure.
And thank you for joining on the laptop. That's really well said, Lalit. Recognize it's a special time and approach it with close consultation with employees, motivating them along the way. Very, very key. Any other thoughts on this? Just give everybody a chance to write something. Jada, connect the larger cause to the individual goal and constantly monitor the adherence. Yeah, that's so key, isn't it? This whole thing about purpose, purpose now, it's not just our individual project purpose or that specific technology purpose, it's how it connects. Because if we can connect it with people's own long-term visions, it's going to be so important. Shadan, you need to make decisions on a long-term vision courageously, make changes required for development and growth. So well said. This, yeah, I sometimes, and as we carry ourselves into the rest of this conference, and it was like amazing to actually start this dialogue, I really want to encourage you to be, listening out for the people perspective, and if there's like key things that you discover. So Sujatha, you mentioned to build awareness of what the future can hold if we all work together to make the world a better place for us and future generations. Yeah, that's just, this whole situation has just brought us like so into sharp focus that our actions impact in the wider way. Laurent, to help being a positive voice to share the big pictures, providing each of our team members the time and tools to develop in the new environment, technology is the link. Absolutely, from everybody. Two more people to hear from on the chat. So just while we're doing that, because I do want to hear last points from everybody. So Umut says, I would stop looking for certain people with certain capabilities, but instead I should connect to various profiles of IoT and understand what they're interested in creating so that they can become a team of common rather than a team of one entrepreneur. Yeah, that's absolutely key. So just as we close, I do want to hear from everybody, so we will do a quick round. I wanted to mention to you that in this conference, in collaboration with IIoT World, who've been very open to this idea that we need to do something at scale around the people support, we're deploying a first version of an app called Stars, which has got some specific content on the topics that we've described, the A, the R, and the T. And, we encourage you to download that and use this voucher code, IIoT-2020, when you create a new account for downloading this. And you'll see that on the keynote page. If you go to the speaker page, there are all of the links there, and we'll also send that to you afterwards. But as a final thing, and we'd love to, get your feedback. We'd love to talk with you about how we can partner on scaling this further, whether you use it for your individual team or your whole company. That's really what, we're up for. We're a human development organization that is now trying to bring what we do into a technology platform, and that's why we created Stars. So as a final thing, as we close, I want to invite everybody to share, what would be like your kind of key collective mission for carrying forward our agenda on strengthening our people. So I'm just going to name you and ask you to just name the one thing that can carry this community forward. So if I could start with you, we'll just go in the order on the screen. So Alon, could you share your key sort of mission, pledge, and passion of what we can do collectively? You're on mute, Alon.
Sorry, I think sharing information is something that can enrich the knowledge and can bring more resilience for societies and innovation, and to cross between adopting new technologies. So sharing information, I think, is something that might be a priority for my point of view.
Okay, thanks for that, Alon. Jadip, how about you?
So to me, the key is motivation. So I would go on an everyday motivation path. I would define team in 3 levels, and the acronym as that I mentioned at the beginning of the call. I would say first to address the everyday motivation. So list out those pointers, and then move on from there to action everyday motivation. So have some action steps to motivate people, and then finally to achieve the motivation and create a feedback loop. And when I say the actions, those actions should align to the common goal or the larger cause that you do, so that you're connected to the real world, and you're not kind of have building an pie in the sky. So I would move the team on those 3 levels on a constant basis and constantly monitor myself being part of the team as well. So those will be my quick takeaway.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Jadip. Let's move on to Lalit.
Well, so I think, I'm going to commit to encouraging 3 things among the employees, my clients, and my company team as well, which is to emphasize communication, collaboration, and coaching. These 3 elements of how to react and respond to what our employees are going through in this crisis.
And Shadan, how about you?
I think, as it was shared earlier, sharing is key. If you have a vision, and if you have a good roadmap strategy, it's really effective if you share it with your team. If you have a dream, if you cannot make that dream for others, at least share your dream with others so that they can adapt to what are the strategies that you are making, and have a very effective communication and an engaged model.
And for you, Laurent, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, through the discussion with JDIP about resilience, I saw like 3 resilience buckets. One was the leader resilience, the team resilience, and each one of us as individual resilience. And a bit as we reflect through that, I was interested by, as a leader and an individual, I think I work on it, but I'm not sure I work on each of my team's members' resilience, and I'm not sure I give them the tool to even think about it. So maybe the call to action is talk about resilience and share ideas around resilience with my team, because the world is troubled right now, so we need to provide tools.
Okay, and Umut, how about you? What would be your key plan?
Well, to be honest, I got quite different aspects, and the new one here is kind of not only just the efficiency and the teamwork, but the resilience is also something key. This I didn't think before, but the teamwork is quite hype since very long time, and now I think in this session we truly filled up how critical it is and what are the aspects that is going to differ results the efficiency in all manner. So what I can how to say take up from this session is consider all this aspect, not just whatever you think may be the problem, but discuss these 3 aspects and just get some feedback and suggestions from the team. And that's how definitely each of these three pillars are going to be improved. They will first need to be aware and discuss and get feedback and take action to improve all of them in some way. That's what I took up. Thank you.
Thanks, Sumit. And Sujatha, your final thought on this?
Yeah. So for me, communication is definitely a key to keep open and engaged communication with the team members, to let them feel comfortable, sharing anything that they would like to share. So being a good listener for my team, I think that's very important. Another thing I would like to bring out is challenging the team. I mean, challenging them to perform better, challenging them to, deliver better, or to become, in all aspects, not just the work aspect, but in any aspect, to better themselves. So challenging them to become better versions of themselves every day. That's something which I think it does motivate people a lot. If you challenge them, they feel motivated and want to give their best. So this is the second thing. And of course, we all have to be resilient. I mean, today's situation, if you are not resilient, then you are, not going to go anywhere. So that's surely there. Another aspect which I would like to propagate within my team and within anybody who cares to listen is to become a conscious citizen of this world. Become conscious environmentally, socially, and in all aspects. So just don't think about yourself, but think about your community, think about your country or the whole world, and become a conscious citizen. So these are the points I would like to
put. What I have loved about all those points that came up is that we've gone right from the tactics of what goes on every day all the way to like the broader impact that we bring through our actions. So I want to thank each and every one of you. This has been a very rich discussion, and my intention was to bring together, a very select group of people who would all be, thinking about what we need to do in this people pillar. So I'm very grateful for that. So we'll be connecting, I hope, in the sessions in the conference. And I know that there's a session starting just like right now. So just want to say a big thank you to all of you. Thank you for joining this roundtable. I look forward to ongoing discussions and staying in touch. It's just been a super pleasure to connect with you today. So all the best for a great rest of conference, and thank you everybody, and thanks for joining on video and being very active contributors. Okay.
thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.